enhance the learning process. There are 9 sequential steps. We're gonna see more of those. Okay, first we call gain attention steps. That is capture learners' interest through stories, questions, and multimedias. I will show you slides right here, right? Gain attention, capture learners' interest through questions, stories, and multimedia. You can use thought-provoking questions and surprising facts. Also, you could show a short video or demonstration. Or another way is you can present a real-world problem or scenarios. What if the temperature raised like, half degrees? What is going to happen to Earth? Something like that. Then you could use multimedia elements like animation or interactive activities. There are many tools for interactive activities, like you guys heard of Metaverse. There are many devices that provide interactive activities in online too. So this 9 event of instruction provides structured approach to lesson planning that ensuring that learners engage with content, practical skills, and retain knowledge by following these steps. So educators can create meaningful and effective learning experience. So we just finished Gagney's first step, which is gain attention. You have to take all attentions from students. So there's one good example. A science teacher begins a lesson on gravity by dropping different objects and ask questions why they fall at different speeds. So there might be answers about 2 different objects drop in different speed. So that is how you can catch attention of students. Next step is we call inform learners' objectives. In this step, you have to clearly state that the learning goals after finishing of the class or after finishing of quarter semester, you have to state what students are going to learn, what students are mastering certain kind of skills and techniques. That is, inform informing learners' objectives. So you can state learning objectives in simple language, right? So after this class, you're gonna learn this, you're gonna learn that. Those things you can explain. And then the next one is explain why the topic is important. After learning certain knowledge, techniques, skills, why is it important? Why you have to learn this knowledge? Because you can, for example, why you have to learn science? Because with knowledge of science, you can do good things to the people with benefit of science, right? And then also you can do good to environment. Keep the environment safe, keep the natural source, preserve those things. You can state to the student that is the importance of why we have to learn those things. Then another topic is you can show how the lesson connects to prior knowledge or future learnings. Okay, example of how you inform learners' objective clearly. Okay, here's the example. By the end of the lesson, you will be able to explain Newton's, you do science class, right? So you can explain Newton's law of motion, and then you can apply those equations to real-world examples. You can do experiments, dropping two different objects, right? To see how Earth gravity is working. So that is informing learners' objectives. Third one is recall, stimulate. Recall of prior knowledge. Always in classroom, you learn something new in every class, right? But things that you learn new, that is not always new. It is always connected to the knowledge previously you learned. So you have to have some kind of connection with new knowledge, and then that is connected to we already learned in the classroom. That is stimulate, recall, and prior knowledge. Okay, you could ask students, hey, you guys remember, like math class, you guys remember how we can add numbers, right? Today we can do math class, like how we can do division and multiplies, those things, how you can connect with previous knowledges. So also you can do brainstorming and quick review quiz questions. You can perform those things too. And also you have to relate new contents to real life experiences too. So these are all about stimulate, remembering, stimulate, recalls of all prior knowledges you taught in previous classroom. Examples like, before introducing math algebra, as teacher, you could review basic arithmetic operations so students, they can can remember things they learned before previous classes. So this is stimulating recalls. Another step we are doing is fourth step. We call present contents. You actually deliver instructional material effectively. That is presenting contents. Like you can use multiple formats. Like you could do a verbally lecture. You can use visuals like PowerPoint, videos, something like that, and then you could do hands-on activities like there are materials, right? You could use white paper and glue and scissors, right? Then you can make some kind of paper objects in the classroom. That is hands-on activities. Also, you could use technologies. You guys can use some kind of device that enables you to experience metaverses, like Meta's Meta device. There are also many devices, Apple's goggles, right? Something like that. So you can use those kind of technologies. Always you have to remember, you have to let students know that they can incorporate the knowledge to the real world examples. Also, when you present the contents, you can break down complex topics into smaller, manageable sections. Okay, for example, as you are history teachers, you can present timeline of World War II using interactive digital maps. That is a good way to use technology. Okay, next step we call, that is, provide learning guidance. In this step, you can offer students explanation, scaffolding, and support. More detailedly, you can give explanation of step by step with demonstrations. You can use guided practice before independent students' work. Also, in this step, you can give students hints, mnemonics or conceptual frameworks. Example, as math teacher, you can work through problem solving example on the whiteboard before asking students to solve similar problems. You can show them how you can solve math problem in advance. Then children learn how they can solve another math similar problems. Okay, next step we call elicit performance. In this step, you can engage students in activities to apply the concepts they learn in the classroom. You can maybe assign some kind of problem solving exercises, or you can make group discussions in the classroom. So with those exercise, you can conduct hands-on experiments or role playings. Also, you can use peer teaching or collaboration learning. Some of the students have a lot of knowledge about certain topics, so you can have them pretend to give some kind of lecture about the topic to the students. That is one of role playing. Here's an example of step 6, elicit performance. After students learning about persuasive writing, the students, they can create a short speech that can convincing their classmates. Okay, another step we're gonna go over is 7th step, that is provide feedbacks. Okay, after you've done some kind of teaching and learning in classroom, always you have to consider giving the feedback to the students. You can offer corrective and also reinforcing feedbacks. You may offer immediate and specific feedbacks too. You can use formative assessment like quizzes, discussions, that helps. And then also you can encourage peer feedbacks and self-assessment. This is also important. When you do some kind of experiment or some kind of speech in the classroom, you as teacher, you could give feedback to that students. Also, you have to allow other students give feedback to that speaker. That is, how feedback works. Then this is example. A teacher reviews students' essay and provide individual feedbacks on structure of the sentences, grammar of sentences, like any punctuations. You can give them the correction with those things. Also, you can give strength to a certain kind of argument. Topic argument. People have different opinion on certain topics, right? So you can encourage, you can give strength to make debate like more efficiently, more actively. So through this discussions, students can learn things from each others. Okay, another model of lesson design, which is 8 steps, that is assess performance. This is you are evaluating learning through assessments. You can use tests, quizzes, project or presentations. You can conduct informal assignments like classroom discussions. Also, you could do comparison, some kind of work of student with others. Here's example of assess performance. As you are physics teacher, you can give practical exam where students must demonstrate Newton's laws using a rolling cart experiments. When you roll the rolling cart, that stops in certain point, right? So you can explain Newton's law of movement in that experiment. And then lastly, that is 9 steps. It is we call enhance, retention, and transfer. You can encourage as teacher the application of knowledge in the new context. It could be like real world application and projects. You could also assign reflection exercises or discussions on how learning in the classroom was applied to outside the classroom. Also, it is help a student understanding of the knowledge with repetition and review sessions. With a lot of reviews and sessions, you could make them to learn certain kind of topics, knowledges, memorable, efficiently. So those things, one of the way, the enhancement of retention and then transfer. Okay, that was the ninth step of Gagne's event of 9 instruction. Excuse me. So now we're gonna see summaries of short video of Gagne's 9 event of instruction.
Hi there. Once again, this is Updated Channel, the channel that tackles professional education subjects and current events. This video is
Sorry. See. Audio.
projects, papers, and so on. In class, tell students conversationally what is expected to happen. It does not have to be as formal as written in the lesson plan. 3. Stimulate recall of prior learning. Encourage students to build on previous knowledge or skills. The teacher may recall events from previous lectures, integrate results of activities into the current topic, and/or relate previous information to the current topic. The topics to be asked are those related to the present topic. This is very important to prepare students for more complex lessons. This can help the students to relate the previous lesson to the current lesson. 4. Present the content. Show and explain the material you want students to learn. Teachers can utilize a variety of methods including lecture, readings, activities, projects, multimedia, and others. There are so many ways to present the lesson. Just remember that the method to be used is suited to the topic and fits to the ability and interest of the students. 5. Provide learning guidance. Provide students with instructions on how to learn, such as guided activities or common pitfalls. With learning guidance, the rate of learning increases because students are less likely to lose time or become frustrated by basing performance on incorrect facts or poorly understood concepts. Include detailed information such as rubrics for projects and activities. Provide expectations, instructions, and timelines. 6. Elicit performance. Teachers should provide practice opportunities for the students. Allow students to apply knowledge and skills learned. Encourage students to apply what they are learning in group or individual projects and activities, written assignments, laboratory practicals, and so on. In teaching, provide formative assessment tools. It is advisable to use collaborative activities so that all students are given the opportunity to participate in the activities. It is also a good idea to use small group activities to better ensure that all group members can contribute to the achievement of the task. 7. Provide feedback. Teachers may provide detailed feedback on assignments showing students what was done correctly, what must be improved, and include explanations. Utilize rubrics when possible. Give formative feedback on smaller assignments as well as summative feedback on larger assessments. Providing feedback means giving students an explanation of what they are doing correctly and incorrectly, with the focus of the feedback on what the students is doing right. It is most productive to a student's learning when they are provided with an explanation as to what is accurate and inaccurate about their work. 8. Assess performance. Help students identify content areas they have not mastered. Teacher may utilize a variety of assessment methods including exams, quizzes, written assignments, projects, and so on. Utilize rubrics when grading activities that are not standard exam and quiz questions. After drills so that students can better master the topic, and after providing them feedback regarding their performances, it is advisable for the teacher to provide an assessment tool to the students. This is summative assessment like giving a short quiz to measure the individual performance of students. 9. Enhance retention and transfer to the job. Prepare students to apply information to personal contexts. This increases retention by personalizing information. Allow students to reflect on what they have learned and how they will use that knowledge or those skills in the future. Give students opportunities to apply what they have learned in real.
Okay, these are all about Gagne's 9 steps of instructional model. Okay, it is very valuable techniques, so you can use in those 9 steps in the classroom. Okay. Then another model we are talking about is backward design. It is another type of lesson design and models. You could perform this kind of model in classroom with mix of other, classroom models. Okay, here the backward design is like this. It is developed by Grant, Wiggins, and J. Mack type. Backward design, it is focusing on starting with the end in the mind. Okay, it is something like this. You can identify the desired result. When you start the class lecture, you can have the students' image, identify what we can learn at the end of this class. That is starting off and the result. That's the point that we can start the lesson. So identifying desired result means you can define clear learning goals and objectives. Hey guys, once you finish this lesson, you're gonna achieve some kind of goal and you can understand what we have to learn through this class. That is learning objectives, right? So that is point. You can start the class. Also, determining acceptable evidence. You can plan assessment before designing instructions too. And then another one is plan learning experiences and instruction. You can develop the lessons that always align with the goal and assessment. So the backward design that is making sure that all instructional activities that is contributed meaningfully to learning outcomes, learning objectives. Okay, here's short video of learning object. Model of backward design. We call UBD. Okay. Okay, you see a short video of backward design. It is always start from the result. Okay, that is the starting point.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to learn a bit about the graphic design process over the next 5 minutes or so. The ideas come from Wiggins and Ty in their book Understanding by Design. Since backward design is essentially a course planning process, let's start with a scenario. Say I'm planning to teach a course in filmmaking to a group of undergraduates. We'll call it Filmmaking 101. I've talked to some colleagues who inspired me with suggestions for some great activities like script writing, storyboarding. Hey, maybe I can even get them to produce a short film. But hang on. This is beginning to sound like a long to-do list. I need to set the stage for learning, not just doing. After all, what is really important to learn about filming? What inspires learners? How can they use that to guide their learning? And can I plan for understanding, or does it just happen? The three-stage backward design process is built on the premise that you can design for understanding when you start with your goals and work backward to uncover what your learners need to know in order to meet them. In stage one, you're envisioning what's important for learners to understand and grapple with, to know what to do. You're defining your learning outcomes. In stage two, you're identifying what evidence you and your learners need in order to assess progress towards those outcomes. And in stage three, you'll be designing the activities that will result in that evidence of understanding. Each stage builds on the other and makes it easier for you to design for meaningful learning. It's called backward because instead of starting with what you'll do,
Okay, it is a simple design. Backward design means learning. And it's also most classes start from chapter 1 and then next chapter 2, chapter 3, right? Then at the end of the class or semester or any kind of lecture, you can state to the student, okay guys, at the end of the class, you're gonna learn some kind of knowledge, or you could achieve some kind of goal, right? But backward design means you can start from the goal, from the learning objectives. Okay, guys, after math or science class, you're gonna fully understand the Newton's law of emotions. I'm sorry, law of motions, not emotion. Sorry. So to achieve the understanding of law of motion, what we can do, what kind of experiment do we have to have? Maybe we need some kind of object with different way. So we're gonna see how gravity works on those objectives, or you could perform some kind of roll car, right? You push car rolls and stops at certain point, right? Because the initial was make the car move, but the energy was dropped in certain points, so the car is not moving, right? So yeah, we need those things. Okay, we need a rolling car, or we need two object to experiment the gravity. Okay, yeah, so we need that things. So why we need those things? Then you can ask the question, why we need that experiment? Then you can discuss with students, yes, because we need to learn how Newton's law of activity, law of motion works. Then we'd like to learn how Newton's gravity works in real world. That is, backward design. You start from goal. Goal, not goal. Okay, the outcome here.
learning. It's called backwards because instead of starting
What is the outcome?
in your course,
So to achieve outcome, what we can do? Yeah.
Let's see how this works in practice. Back to our course example. I'm hoping that by the end of my course, learners will understand something about the role of reading and storytelling and be able to apply that understanding to their development of their own projects. Likely an exam won't give me or my learners the kind of evidence of understanding we're looking for. but the development of filmmaking projects will, and that will encourage them to draw on their own inspirations or questions. And, like with all learning, there will be many opportunities to practice and get feedback on the component parts of a larger project. So we'll build that in, which will include technical aspects and learning how to work together, which are important aspects of the discipline of filmmaking. I also want to make space for thinking and discussing about the essential question: what's the role of storytelling? To get a broader perspective on this, I want students to connect with a broad range of people with different backgrounds and experiences, people outside of class. So I'll build that into my plan. Let's recap. What makes backward design effective? Well, starting with the vision for the essential outcomes for learners and defining goals sets you on a path to create an environment for learning. From there, I plan opportunities for learners to produce the evidence needed to evaluate progress towards goals. And lastly, careful planning of activities and the use of resources to help them create that evidence results in alignment between goals, assessment, and activities, kind of the linchpin of effective learning design. Of course, the kind of careful planning that backward design requires involves thinking and questioning at each stage of the process. In thinking about outcomes, what is worthy of understanding? What are the essential questions that learners will need to grapple with? And what's important for them to know and do? In thinking about assessment evidence, what is acceptable evidence? What role will learners have? And how much evidence do we need to collect? In thinking about activities, what sort of activities will support our goals, help build understanding, and help learners make meaning? There are guides to help with that process of thinking through those questions. For example, to help you determine what's worthy of understanding when it comes to your course, 4 filters are proposed. That it has some kind of enduring value, is core to your discipline, requires coverage, and engages inquiry. So I'm going to check that against the goal that I have for understanding, which is understanding the role of storytelling. I think it meets the criteria. 6 facets of understanding help you to define the qualities that might be associated with understanding. You can find a rubric online that expresses this in more detail. So to sum up, backward design supports understanding, which is really at the heart of meaningful learning. Thanks for tuning in.
Okay, did those terms you guys never heard of those things? But actually, we did practice those learning models frequently. It is simple. It is starting from the results. Teacher starts from the result. Hey guys, you're gonna learn, you're gonna understand at the end of the class how we can multiply numbers and how we can do the division of numbers. So to achieve those goals, what we can do? The next step is, to do this, to understand better multiplication and division. Yes, we need to understand how we can add numbers and subtract numbers. So those what we can do from start from the point of the result of the class. That is backward design. Okay, another model we can apply in classroom is ADDIE model. Okay, it is the systemic instructional design framework that is used educational and corporate training. Okay, it is a simple. ADDIE, ADDIE, that is the first letter of all 5 steps. Okay? First A is analysis. D is design. Another D is development. I is implementation. And E is evaluation. That is another form of lesson design. We call ADDIE models. Okay, simple, right? A, analysis. D, design. Another D is development. I is implementation. E is evaluation. So let's look more on analysis. You identify the learner's needs, instructional goals. You have to know what your student have to learn, and then you identify what could be the outcome of that lecture. That is analysis. To achieve that goal, you have to design. You can make lesson plan. You can specify classroom outcomes, learning objectives, and then also you do design the assessment. How you can collect the data of each student's learning performance, that is assessment. Later, I'm going to explain more about assessment and evaluation. Those are a little different. And then the development. Okay, you can create instructional materials. Then implementation is you can deliver instruction and then make it possible to work in the classroom. That is facilitating. Okay. Actually, things that you learn is applied to real experiment or real world setting. That is implementation. Okay. Then evaluation. That is, you can assess effective and then make improvement. Okay, guys, we can use those terms many times. Assessment and evaluation, right? You guys know the difference between those two words? Assessment, what is assessment? What is evaluation? It looks like they both have same meaning, but that applies academically little different. Okay? So anyhow, I'm gonna explain later. Now we're gonna see short video of ADDIE model, right? ADDIE. Analysis, D, design, another D, development, I, implementation, E is evaluation. Okay? Simple words you can see. analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. So how?
In this video, I'll provide a general overview of the ADDIE model of instructional design. ADDIE is one of the most popular models for creating training curricula. The ADDIE model provides learning designers with an essential structure for designing curricula in any learning environment, such as in education, corporate settings, government, nonprofit, or any other organization where learning takes place. ADDIE is composed of 5 essential stages: analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. Let's take a look at each of these in more detail, starting with the analysis stage. At the analysis stage, instructional designers gather information and make decisions that will make the training development process much smoother later. There are several major activities that occur at this stage. Instructional designers identify the training needs. Learning objectives are created that address the needs. They define who their audience is to which the instruction will be targeting. The training content is selected that will help the target audience achieve the learning objectives. The most appropriate delivery methods are then selected. The resources and constraints are established that direct by when the project will be complete, the budget allotted, and the resources available. During this stage, communication begins with those who may be involved in the design or implementation. This may include graphic designers, corporate trainers, and more. This information is used to guide the activities of the instructional designers during the next stage, the design stage. During the design stage, the instructional designer creates the blueprint for the instruction. There are several major activities included in this stage. The learning content and information is sequenced into logical segments or units. Storyboards are created for e-learning modules or training videos. Rough drafts of scripts or training outlines are created. Digital media, print media, and other deliverables are prototyped. Communication continues with the design team and the SMEs. The learning project's instructional, visual, and technical design strategies are documented and reviewed by the relevant stakeholders on the project. These aspects need to be signed off before moving on to the next stage. Once the design of the instruction is signed off by the stakeholders, instruction is moved into the next stage, development. Several important activities happen during the development stage. The developers create, assemble, and organize the digital and print deliverables that were begun in the design phase. Training videos are recorded, edited, and produced. E-learning and any technological aspects of training are tested and finalized. The project documentation of the strategies are further reviewed and feedback is given to the instructional designers. Some or all of the training may be piloted with a select group of individuals, including members of the learning design team. Once the stakeholders sign off on the design strategies, the project is moved into the next stage, the implementation stage. This is the stage in which training actually is delivered. During this stage, videos, e-learning, help aids, and other materials are accessed by the participants. Also, the learners outside of the test groups now participate in the classes and training. Evaluation intersects with each of the other stages of the training process. This involves 2 major components, the formative evaluation and the summative evaluation. The formative evaluation describes the examination that is done throughout the other 4 stages of the training process. The formative evaluation allows those involved in the training or curriculum development to recognize potential barriers to the training before they happen, respond to training challenges as they occur, avoid repeating mistakes, and make course corrections as needed. The summative evaluation focuses on examining the outcome of the training during the implementation stage. The information gathered from the summative evaluation continues to guide the project design process. In the ADDIE model, these 5 stages are not always linear. They build off one another, and how this model is implemented will vary depending on the project.
Okay. Okay, last part of with the use of technology and classroom model design. Okay, before I go over this, okay, At the end of the class today, I'm gonna announce very important information to you guys. Okay, don't leave right away. Okay. Actually, I work as administrator director in other school. Okay, I'm gonna tell you some issues. So don't leave the classroom after the class. Okay. Okay. Next. Okay, topic is in instructional planning and lesson design. That is technology we can use in the classroom and then other instructional planning. Okay, nowadays it is very important to use the technologies that is integrated in actual classroom instructional planning. Why we have to use this one? Why it is important? Because that enhance engagement. There are many good, useful interactive tools and multimedias, right? That stimulate, that encourages students' interest about things they like to learn. Not only, verbally explain all the knowledges in classroom, right? Sometimes you use visual thing like, PowerPoint and videos, right? Also, that is one of the help of technology. Also, why? That supports diverse learners. You can adapt the contents of the various learning style and abilities. If the classroom was a student-centered class, you can give assignment to the student, different type of assignment about one topic to the student. Some student, you can give assessment to test, some, with some questions. Also, you can give another student for the assessment. Okay, guys, with understanding of certain topics, some take the test, or other takes performing some kind of experiment. You can give the same values for the assessment. Yeah. That is different learning styles, and then also you can adapt assessment to the student's ability. Also, that is improving efficiency. With the help of tools, you can do better planning on classroom design, and also you can perform efficiently in the classroom to teach students. It helps you that you do grading, and also it is good for classroom management and save times. Okay, before when I was in more than 30-40 years ago, all the record, all the test was written on the semester report, right? Okay, we get something like that. But now all those records are stored in where? Some kind of learning management systems, right? So with that help, you can save time to manage all the records of students. Also, you can store all the data of students' performance too. So this technology also facilitates the collaboration of students. you can, it is kind of platform that allows teachers and students to share the resources for the classroom and then communicate in real time. What could be? We use Zoom, right? Zoom, yeah. During the pandemic, in the school, in classroom, many schools use the Zoom lecture. Also, that helps communicate, collaborate with the students and teachers too. Also, with technology, we enable data-driven instruction. So when we do, use those high techniques, we can collect the data and information, how teaching strategy was realized in actual classroom. So you can gather all the information, real-time students' performance, right? And then it is stored as data in the computer. So that's why we use those things. Okay, here's the chart that shows how actually we use those techniques in the classroom nowadays, right? So you can see why we use those techniques in the classroom, and then what is the purpose. Okay, learning management systems, we call LMS. You guys know Google Classroom, right? That is one of the learning management system. Okay, many colleges, they use Moodle system. Other colleges use Populi systems. There are many different software that makes you enable, manages, student data, academic records. Also, that helps you run the school better. Okay, these are all the software we call learning management systems. So Google Classroom, Moodle, Canvas. I think Canvas was used in Biola University. When I was in there, they used Canvas system. That is one of the learning management systems. Okay, simple. It is the purpose why we use LMS. It makes us organize contents better. We can easily give assignment to the students by mails, right? And then messages. And then also it has better communication. You could do real-time communication with those tools. Google Classroom, Moodle, Canvas. Also, another technology we can use is presentation tools. Many people use PowerPoint, right? Nowadays, many people use Canva. Canva has many different platforms. It does PowerPoint. It gives platform of like any kind of design. You could make thumbnails for YouTube, live streaming. You could do any kind of postcard. You could use any kind of design format to use Facebook, Instagram, TikToks, many different formats. we can use in Canvas. Also, Canva has a PowerPoint option too. So you can use it as presentation too with Canva. That is very creative, very, very useful to use it. So with those tools, you can create visual engagement in classroom. Actually, you shows graphics, videos, images, right? So that helps in your classroom. Then also we can use interactive platforms. Like these are, Nearpod and Kahoot and quizzes. Actually, you could, with those tools, you could do, a test game too in real time. That helps assess the students' performance. Okay, you could use it as a formative assessment and engagement. Also, there are good softwares you could do, planning softwares. Planboard, Eduphonia, you can make a schedule, you can track, you can documentation, lesson plans. Also, there's contents repositories. Repositories means, you can store your classroom contents saved in certain, platform. Like the lecture you perform in the classroom, right? It is recorded, and then you can upload that video to YouTube, right? So YouTube becomes storage, cloud storage, or repository platform too. Anytime you can bring it on the classroom to review. And then we have TED. You guys heard of TED? TED. This is very, very inspiring, educational, platform that shows many, many discussions, many, many good lectures. So Google or YouTube, type TED. There are many, 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 many good topics you can learn, anything. Okay, that is good. Site organization. Just type in the group YouTube TED education. And Khan Academy. You guys know Khan Academy, right? They are doing some kind of lesson uploaded. Actual explanation was recorded in Khan Academy. Grade from K, kindergarten to 12th grade. The subjects are many, many good subjects like math, science, English, and everything. Social science, writing. So these are all techniques you can learn, you can use in classroom. Then we do assessment tools. Recently I use a lot of this Google Forms. I rarely use Edmund Socrative. It does, survey, quizzes, and polls. Have you guys used Google Forms? It is really good to survey and polls, and then you can design the quizzes, tests with Google Forms. It is very useful. I use that a lot in other class. So these are all the techniques we can use in classroom. Also, when we make instructional planning and lesson design, there's also, challenges in instructional planning. Time constraints. Constraints means, kind of, in Korean, 제약, 시간 제약, something like that. So, why we have a schedule, right? This quarter, this semester, we have to complete, like, let's say chapter 1 to chapter 1. So in this time constraint, we have to learn everything in this designed quarter through taught certain topics from chapter 1 to chapter 10. But sometimes you got stuck in certain chapter because some students, many students have many more interest, many more questions about certain topics. So you consume more time to explain those chapters. So if you do that, maybe we cannot complete 4 chapters. Chapter 1 through chapter 10. So this is time constraint. So you have to balance the curriculums that is actually performed in the classroom. Also, student diversity. Like LA, there are many different students. They have different cultural background, they have different learning abilities, they have different understandings. So we have to always consider those diversities in classroom. Because with different diversities, students have different needs, different abilities. So we have to adapt the teaching skills. We have to use a different method for those variations. Okay, then assessment alignment. We have to make sure assessment that is accurately performed, accurately measured. Based on the learning objectives. Learning objectives are kind of a standard, right? So when you perform assessment, you have to make learning object as a standard. So let's say at the end of the class, math class, grade 4, so you guys learn, you guys finish how you can multiply the numbers, how you can divide the numbers. That is learning objectives. That is becoming the standard for the test at the end of semester. So you cannot perform any other assessment out of that learning objectives. And then resource availabilities. Sometimes it is limited, right? We cannot have all the material we need in the classroom. So you have to manage which kind of material is suitable for children to learn a certain knowledge, certain topics. Okay, the chapter 4. So we just finished chapter 3. Okay, it was all about instructional planning, lesson design. Okay, now we're gonna learn about assessment and evaluation. Can somebody answer what is assessment? What is evaluation? What is difference between those two terms? Looks like the same, right? We use those words many times. Yeah, I do assessment, I do evaluation. We use mixed meaning of those two terms. But academically, it has little difference. But practically, we use as the same meaning. As the same, both two terms have the same meaning. Assessment, evaluation. But it has subtle different meaning. It has. Okay? Power's up. Okay. Okay. I go directly. I'm gonna go over next week one more time. Okay. Assessment is some kind of test. Okay. Evaluation too. That is also some kind of test. The difference is assessment is process of collecting data. Collecting data. What is it? Okay, whole semester. Every class, every math class, you do perform quizzes. Once you learn number addition, okay, you give student quiz. Okay, I'll give you 10 quizzes. What is 1 plus 1? Like this. Every class. So you can collect students' data. Okay, Jenny, you do good on addition. Okay, you got 10 score. Okay, John, oh, you have to do more about it. Okay, you got 5 correct out of 10 questions. Some does 7 points. Sometimes some student does 3 points. So you can collect the result of each class of quizzes. That is collecting of data. Okay? Assessment. Quiz results. Collecting data. That is assessment. Okay? Then evaluation is what? Process of making judgment, making decision. With assessment, you collect all the abilities, student performance data you have, right? With assessment. Then you add other factors for final grade. That is evaluation. Okay. Today's the last class. Okay, so I give you all grade of our performance. Okay, for quizzes, you got, let's say you got 7 points, but you do really good on experiment. You got 10. So I like to give you 8.5 grade. the average. So your final grade is B plus, something like that. B plus is final judgment, final decision, right? That is, we call evaluation. With all collected data, you make decision, that is evaluation. Easy, right? Assessment is what? The process of collecting data. Evaluation is process of making decision with data you collected. Okay, now I'll give you what we need to have assessment and evaluation. Okay, in this slide. So assessment and evaluation are essential components of learning process that provides students feedback on their learning progress. Also, you give them instructional effectiveness, and then also you can make good learning academic quality. You can make high quality of academic outcome, right? With that assessment and evaluation. Let's say without assessment, without evaluation, students, they don't want to pay attention to the classroom, and then so they don't care, right? They all get the same grade. So there might be students, they really don't care about learning. So with assessment and evaluation, that make the academic quality higher. So a well-designed assessment and evaluation system that is making sure that the alignment with what? Learning objectives. Learning objectives is like kind of a standard, right? So that employs diverse assessment method. And then that is integrated both formative, summative approaches to support student success. We just learn what is assessment, what is evaluation. Okay? I think that's it for today's class. Okay. Any question? No? Okay, anything you want to say?